honouring all the myths and stories, all the failures, all the glories, stepping boldly forth into this eternal moment. Are you ready? Are you ready? Everybody and everything is one.
Well, hello there. It's very, very lovely to be here with you. Do you know that before we start this, Sue and I, Sue Ducru, the producer, we always say barefootsatsang to each other just before we begin. Do you not think that's really cute? I've never really thought about it before. That's the spirit with which we start this thing. And this one is pump, pump, pump up the power of perspective and focus your vision. Now, you have to understand that I choose words, ironically, most of the time, in fact, because the power of perspective isn't something you pump, really. And I'm generally taking the mickey out of modern culture and the sort of hyperbolic aspect of it. Pump that power of perspective. It's a lot more subtle and discreet than that, the Taoist way. So, firstly, I needed to point that out in case you thought I was a bit gung-ho about all this, because perspective isn't something you really can bang into place. It's something that you have to just gently, humbly invite, and you do so by repositioning where you're looking from. Perspective, as you know, means looking through. You know, in its original Latin form, spectare, I look, or to look rather, per is through. And in other words, to look through all the dross, all the visual noise in the front of the brain to what is actually there. Although that's a little bit idealistic, because none of us can actually see what is there. We might coincidentally chance upon it momentarily, but we perceive through our sense organs. Then our brain creates a facsimile. It synthesizes all the incoming information, produces a facsimile of what it thinks is there, and the miracle is that it seems, at least, that most of us, most of the time, seem to agree on what we're on these facsimiles that we're producing. I mean, for example, you know this, don't you? That when you're looking at something, the eyes are actually taking it in as it actually is, which is upside down to the way we see it, because you know we see the sky as being up and the ground as being down. Which it isn't. That's an illusion. That comes from when we believed that the earth was flat. And so there was us here on the floor, so to speak, and then up there in the sky was the ceiling. In fact, as we now know, that we're on a sphere. So there is no real up and down. There's in towards the center of the sphere, and there's out away from the surface of the sphere into space. So there's in and out. And the Taoists knew this. This is thousands of years ago. They weren't the only ones, of course. They suggested that to turn the trance on its head, because this world that we see, this world that we live in, this world of the 10,000 things, as they called it, really is held together by a trance state that we self-induce collectively. You know, we believe America is a country. We believe Europe is a continent. We believe that mountain is called Mount Vesuvius or whatever, but in fact they're not. They're just things that have happened because of the force of nature, and where the sea happens to have not, you know, submerged the land. There's a piece of land there that people have sort of started living on, and gradually they build up this myth, and they call it France or Germany or America or whatever. And it has its jingle, the national anthem. It has its logo, which is the flag, and everybody's into it. That's the myth. It is held together by trance. And in fact, to the point that if you actually dared to go up to someone at the heart of the establishment and say, look, this is all just a myth, they think you were a heretic. I'm not suggesting it's not a great myth, any of it. It's fascinating, the whole thing. But it is held together by a form of trance. And being able to see through, have perspective, means to see through the elements of the trance to something approaching what's actually there. Because perspective can only be subjective and selective. Because we do select what we want to look at. You know, if you look at a beautiful view of nature, oh, I know. I was watching this cat came in the grounds of the hideout yesterday, and I was looking out, and this lovely cat, I like this cat, I've seen it before, and I was thinking, oh, you sweet cat. Then I realised what the cat was doing was crouching, waiting for one of the zillions of birds that are around here to come out of the hedge so it could get it. And I don't think it did in the end, but that's what its intent was, which ain't that really cute, is it? That's kind of horrible and cruel, this cruel side of nature. I chose to see the sweet pussycat thing, and if you look at a very neat, very elegant city, or the heart of an elegant city, the posh bit, right, you know, the Mall, where the Queen lives at the end of in London, it looks really slick and everything. What you don't do is focus on the sewage underneath, which is there, and what you don't do is focus on the boiling core of the earth that's underneath that a few miles down, because it's just isn't what you generally want to select as your view, because it's a bit overwhelming or a bit disturbing, or and so on and so forth. You get my drift. And this is very pertinent to satsang in general, because satsang is the Sanskrit word meaning here we are sitting together in authenticity, without our usual artifice, without our plumage on display, or our strange little social tics and quirks and charades that we all engage in instinctually. It's not, you know, for some people it's affected, but most of it's just, well, as you say, instinctively. I spend a lot of time with a 4-year-old boy, watching him grow up and, you know, playing a part in that at the moment. And it's so clear how we actually totally construct ourselves. We construct our personalities, the ego, the I that interfaces with other people, that plays its role in the world, in the theatre of life, that wants to fit in and not be evicted from the group, but who doesn't want to be dominated, but who doesn't want to be bland, wants to be entertaining, yet doesn't want to dominate. And all these equations we learn to balance out more or less successfully from such a young age, and it continues. By the time we're in our, whenever, I don't know when you put a limit on it, if there is one, you kind of get to a point in adulthood where you believe that you are the constructed self. You forget completely that you practiced your moves in front of the mirror, that you constructed your signature and took it through all its different phases until it settled into something that seemed like your signature. When you sign your signature now, you don't think about it, it's your signature, but it isn't something that came naturally. It was developed, as was everything, your language skills, your facial expressions, that's your social repertoire, all of it was stuff that you've learned. You know, I do it myself. Somebody says a word that I really like, and I thought, oh, I must remember that. I love that word. I'll use that word. You know, and that's how we do it, isn't it? We acquire bits and pieces and we stick them into our act, and then we offer it back out to everybody. And the art of attaining perspective is very much about seeing through that construct as best we can. The Taoists were really clever at this, and they had a very pragmatic way of doing it, which we will go into in a minute. I call this sequence spirit restoration, or spirit restorative, really to imply that to restore us to our true nature, to that part which does watch, that does bear witness to existence, impartially. It observes the flow of the yin and the yang, the constriction to the expansion, the easy bit to the hard bit, the nasty bit to the beautiful bit, and back again, how it cycles inevitably because of the yin and the yang. It doesn't cling to one or the other. It doesn't get filled with hubris at every success. It doesn't get slammed to the floor with every apparent failure. It just observes. It's in a state of, I think the nearest word I can ever think to describe it is a perpetual, discrete glee at just being. I think glee is about the best word I could come up with for it. It's not kind of it's a deep sense of it is very beautiful being alive, being with existence, having this experience, and the coloration of the experience as it goes through its inevitable phases from dark to light and back again and so on and so forth is merely the play of light, the tension in a movie, isn't the most pleasing or pleasurable bit, perhaps. But once the release comes, then comes, oh, how lovely. The story resolves, the hero is saved, whatever it is, and happy ending type scenario can only have any value if there was the potential for an unhappy ending preceding it. And the background presence within you, this eternal self, this watcher, this whence comes your true nature, it knows this, it knows it instinctually, and therefore it appreciates the whole flow of light and shade. It doesn't cling to one or the other. It doesn't try to avoid one and have the other. It just observes. It's this part of us sits in the back of us physically or psychophysically. It's, you know, it's the background presence. It's the witness spirit. It sits behind, observing the play of thoughts in the front of the brain, observing the play of emotions in the front of the body. And that is all that you really ever need to know about attaining enlightenment or the enlightened perspective, is that you need to remember to learn to sit in your back instead of the front. We get pulled into the front and then remain there because the trance is so alluring, the trance of the everyday world, and our thoughts about it, the way we evaluate it, the emotions we feel about it. I was feeling nervous just before this, for example. I noticed it. I didn't really know what about. It was, or maybe I'm not going to be able to get my words out because I haven't really been talking much today. And I've been focused and creating music and writing and stuff, so I haven't been communicating in words. Oh, what if I can't get any sound out of my voice? Maybe it was that. I don't know, but I did notice that I was generating a nervous feeling. I do it to make me feel alive. You know, we all do. We generate intensity to make ourselves feel alive. And then I asked myself, okay, you enjoying this? Are you liking this kind of nervy thing? Well, yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. We'll drop back for a moment. I drop back behind it. The nerves dissipate, and any residue of them is just like a sensation without judgment attached to it. So this is really the key to perspective. And then the ability then to focus your vision, in other words, focus your line of sight, is a lot easier when you manage to zoom out or gain altitude or distance from what it is you think you're looking at. Because as I say, you're not really looking at what you're looking at, you're perceiving it. Even more so, the pictures that we have in our heads about our lives, we do mistake these for the reality itself. And in fact, they are just pictures in the head. We create scenarios about our prospects, about what we think we want, about what we fear, and we try to plan how to avoid the thing we fear and how to get the thing we want, and so on and so forth. The ability to focus on the desired outcome is a lot easier when you've got the distance to do it. Then you just aim your sight at the epicenter of the scene that you see manifesting, and the rest just takes care of itself. At the last session, we addressed the issues of, gosh, what was it? This is maybe why I was nervous. I thought my mind was going to fly off, and it is. What we looked at last week was purpose and direction, and what I suggested to you was that purpose, the ultimate purpose for any of us to be here, is to enjoy it at the deepest, most profound level, to just enjoy the gift of being alive, because there is no other greater gift. There is nothing as big as being alive. Everything else is just details. It doesn't seem like that, but it is just details. And the ability to, or the willingness to let go of the noise and be in the self fully back and just love being here, that's our purpose. That's what we've manifested for. And the Tao, that is the background presence of all of this, that manifests itself as this, and any really clear way of putting it succinctly in a short space of time, it presumably only does so that it can enjoy itself as us. Otherwise, why would it bother? It's not a masochist. It wouldn't do it just to not enjoy itself. So the glee of being wants to reach out and be everywhere in everyone, and that's therefore our purpose, to allow that to occur in us. And the happy byproduct of that is it influences everyone around us. It's joy spreads like a contagion, just like misery does. So if we feel joy and we're willing to share it with everybody, you don't have to say joyful things, you just have to be yourself. Others feel it, and it sparks off their joy as well. And the more joyful souls there are, the more the Tao enjoys itself, the better everyone is, the better it is for everyone. I've also been playing with the idea that if you wanted to take all of the romance out of it, all the conjecture out of it, you could just say that our purpose here is just to keep each other company. You want to be really pragmatic about it. But then what's that about? That's just about giving each other comfort, isn't it? And joy, really, to help each other feel the joy. So it does boil down to the same thing in the end. And then getting your direction is really quite clear, because once you know that your intention is to enjoy it and to spread that joy, it's the way reveals itself. The direction of how to go to facilitate that reveals itself. Now we get brought up believing we have to forge our way, we have to create our path. The Taoist way was to acquiesce to the path that is already there. We need to learn to discern what is coming our way rather than to create it. This whole idea that we create our reality. I don't know, I've said it myself and written it in books and all, but you know, we get refined as we grow up, and I see that, and I'm not growing up as we grow, I see more and more clearly that it's not about deciding what I want to do. It's about discerning what the path has in store for me, and then agreeing to it, and not only agreeing to it, but being willing to rise up to it in with all my kind of positive qualities to the fore, willing to give my very best to it, to receive the most from it, and to share it generously with everybody. This seems to be the way, rather than forging a path. I discern the path. So that's the kind of basic premise of this. Then, when you got your direction, you've seen your purpose, you know that it's to enjoy being here. And that doesn't mean by being in denial of the dark side, it doesn't mean by being in denial of all the pain, it doesn't mean enjoying yourself in spite of other people's suffering. It does actually mean accommodating all the pain of life, including your own, of course, and yet somehow being willing to enjoy the very fact that you are here, just to value the experience, even when it goes through its most painful moments. Nothing is allowed to actually spoil the deeper joy of just being. And this is only possible when you sit in the back of yourself, because there you're not partial to what should constitute enjoyment or not. Even really sharp physical pain doesn't get in the way of that deeper enjoyment. This I talk from experience. Once you're sitting in your back, as I was saying, the mind that we're used to, which occupies the prefrontal cortex of the brain, is full of descriptions. A piece of wood looks like a piece of wood, a computer screen looks like a computer screen, a car looks like a car. They are sort of really kind of shorthand descriptions of very complex phenomena, which could be described a million different ways depending on the context. You could be talking about a collection of atoms, or a sort of a subatomic structure, or a physical structure, or a function, or whatever. We just choose to describe everything in a particular way to ourselves. And we do this in the fronts of the brain by talking to ourselves in there. We have conversation with ourselves all day long, which is often referred to as the internal dialogue. This also consists not only of descriptions, but of evaluations. We evaluate how well we're doing in what we describe to ourselves as the game of life. Of course, all of it is subjective. We don't have the parameters to judge it objectively. And we kind of do more or less okay, figuring out that we're doing okay, and we haven't got a clue, really. None of us know if we're doing okay or we're not doing okay. The best we can say is, well, I'm still here, therefore I guess I'm doing okay. Anything beyond that is presumptuous, but nonetheless, that's how we run. Now, this mass of descriptions constitutes a filter over the lens, so that whatever you look at, you're seeing it through your filter of descriptions and evaluations. This works. It's fairly efficient. It's a good way of compressing your experience into something manageable, because you can categorize, you can make sense of it according to the model that you've got running inside of you. Quick example, I'm driving along down the A46 from Stroud in Gloucester to Bath, and I know the road very, 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 very well. and it's a summer day, and I'm thinking about Ibiza as I'm driving, so my mind I wasn't in some way present, but I was fully in command of the action of driving. Beautiful sunny day, and I look over to my right, suddenly back in the United Kingdom, and I see the most beautiful scene, I think, of the view that I've ever seen, maybe in my whole life. It's these huge, lush green hills and beautiful blue sky above, and I've never seen hills like it. I've seen mountain ranges, I've seen everything, but I've never seen hills as gorgeous as that. Wow. And then I go, no, man, that's just the hills of Bath. That's Bath. And I go, oh, yeah, it's just Bath. And I just completely compressed the absolute thrill of that view into something that's still beautiful. I didn't detract from how beautiful it was, but it was, it's just that. I know that one already. And we do that all the time. We compress reality by virtue of that filter. We get stuck up in the front there. We sit in that internal dialogue most of the time, so we believe that is reality. And the problem with having no perspective, no view, no distance from which to see the scene of your life is that you tend to lose proportion. You blow things out of proportion. Things that are really not important become hugely important. Somebody looking at you askance could trigger you off into major depression, when in fact they might not even be looking at you. They might have just had a funny thought in their head and looked away in a funny way. Or you think like you owe money, and then you suddenly crash the car, and then you've got to spend a whole lot more money, and you haven't got any money coming in, and you think you're going to go over the overdraft limit, and you go into the horrors. You take yourself into a spiral of doom, and it's all going to fall apart, and that's it. I'm done for. I'm finished. And chances of that are slim. You find that it passes, you come through it somehow or other, a bit messy, but you got out of it, you're still alive, still smiling, and nothing happened really. And we do that sort of thing all the time. And that's because we're stuck in the filter, and we can't actually get any distance from what we're looking at. So we need to learn to zoom out, as it were. We have to learn to, you could say, gain altitude, like an eagle. That's how the Native Americans call it, which is a beautiful image. But it's not just about height, is it? It's distance as well. I like to see it more like I'm a satellite in orbit around the planet. I like to get that kind of level of distance, or I'm standing on the moon looking back, or I'm standing on a planet somewhere near Sirius, even that far away, and I'm looking back at this little tiny pinprick of light. And then I get a sense of proportion. I stop blowing things out of proportion. And once I do that, it's very clear to see where the place of my joy lies ahead of me. There's a sense. I used to go running on Hampstead Heath a lot, and when I lived in London a long time ago, and I'd often do it at night, and especially on moonless nights where you couldn't see anything, you'd see that there were these subtle lines of light across the ground, which I used to think were like mini ley lines. And if you followed them, you'd never fall down a pothole or stumble or fall. You'd always have a straight through all the bramble and all the rest of it, as long as you followed these lines of light. And it's exactly like that. There's this sense of when you've got your perspective and you're sitting back inside and you're not freaking out, you're not in an anxious state, just for a moment, comes visible to you a light, a kind of pathway lit up for you, which leads you somewhere that you might not be able to see, but you can feel it. And it feels beautiful, and it feels beckoning, it feels warm, it feels inviting. And that is the place of your new joy that's calling to you. And to be able to then focus on that is really a very simple matter that can be augmented quite simply with a couple of nifty techniques, which I'm also going to share with you in a moment. So we're really kind of talking about adjusting the camera lens, aren't we? And that's what we're about to do. I did also talk last week, and I'm going to continue this thing now, about the idea of getting what you want and how you get what you want. What's the pathway to it? Firstly, I have to say, it must start with acknowledging that you already have what you want. If you hadn't wanted it, you wouldn't have it, because that's how it works. And even if you can't get with that, at least accept that you can want what you have now. Like, train your mind backwards, if you like, to want what is going on right now. In other words, if you had one wish, just wish for it to be exactly as it is. And there's a part of the mind goes, oh, but that's a swizz, isn't it? You know, because it's not like enough of this or enough of that. And then you stop and you go, I have the gift of life. I have existence. If I was to lose this, I'd really appreciate it suddenly. So no need to wait till that moment. Be aware it could go at any moment and value it. I have this gift of life. I already have the gift. You start from there. And then you really, if you're relaxed, it's obvious that all you really want is for it to continue for as long as it can, and to expand as much as it can, and to become as easy as it possibly can be, and as warm as it can be, and as flowing as it can be, and harmonious as it can be, and loving and congenial with your fellows as it can be, and productive creatively, and in a sense of your education as it can be. And at the same time, that you're willing to be mature enough to acknowledge and accept that nothing is ideal. So no matter how wonderfully you manifest your life for yourself, it really doesn't matter how beautiful the house or the relationship or your body or your bank account or your car or whatever it is. There's always the other side. Always, always, always the other side. There's the fear of losing it. There's the illness. There's the car breaking down. There's the other person you in love with acting weird on you and making you feel funny. There's all kinds of stuff that will happen. Everything has its responsibility. Everything has its shadow side. That's the yin and the yang of it. So part of the intention, which is what we're talking about, must be to be able to accept comfortably and humorously everything is like that. Nothing is just one way. You can't have it all light because you wouldn't know it was all light. There wouldn't be any shade to contrast it with. So then comes this idea that we achieve what we want by making a beeline for it, which in some ways it really feels like we do, doesn't it? We move from point A to point B along a line. Well, that's really just a construct. Again, it's part of our massive descriptions. There are no straight lines in the cosmos. Everything is part of a curve because everything's orbiting, everything's circular. And it operates on a lateral model rather than a linear one. So where you are doesn't really go anywhere. It just the sphere of your experience expands and expands and expands in what you might describe as a series of concentric spheres growing larger and larger and larger. And each time the sphere grows, it accommodates more stuff, more activity, more input, more beautiful scenery, more bits and pieces that please you or don't please you, whatever, but more of it all. That's how it works. It's not that you go in a straight line to a place where there's more stuff. You expand spherically till you encompass the more thing. We also have to remember that more is just more. It doesn't mean it's better. It just means it's more. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all lovely. It's the way of nature to want more and more and more and more. We also have to learn to not get caught in the wanting. It's fine to want as long as you can go, oh, you know what I'm doing now? I'm wanting. And even if I got what I wanted, if I still was wanting, it wouldn't make any difference. I'd still just be wanting. And I'm sure you're familiar with that. You really want something. You really want something. And you get it. And you still really want something because you're stuck in the wanting. And there has to be at least a balance between that and the having. And the having doesn't mean, hey, look how good my life is. I've got this and I've got that and I've got it. You can do all that. That's superficial. It really just comes back to this thing. I'm alive. I have the gift. All the rest is actually secondary and incidental. Yeah, so once you've got your purpose and your direction clearly intended, hence set in motion, you need perspective so that you know where you stand in relation to realizing the reality in the bigger sphere. And then you need focus so you can see what to do step by step in order to realize the new reality. There's this interesting paradox between pure acquiescence to the path that's revealing itself and knowing you've got to take action. You can't just be a lazy bastard and expect the whole thing to happen for you. I mean, it might in a few rare instances, but generally it takes work. And without work, what are you going to be doing anyway? I mean, how dull. You can't live a life of doing nothing, can you? I don't know. It's just become indolent. I don't think that leads to feeling very good about ourselves. So there's nothing wrong with doing stuff. Doing stuff's fun. But you have to know what you're doing. You have to be clear about where the impulse is coming from inside of you and about how you're following it, how graciously, how gracefully. So once you set your intention, you take action. But it's not action you determine with your busy front brain mind. It's action that you discern by the way of these inner prompts that are impelling you to do this or do that. And then it becomes a game. You follow it. You just, I need to phone someone. I can't phone it. I don't feel like phoning. I'm shy. No, phone them now. And then you phone them, and something great happens. That's how it works. It's that learning to override the noise in the front and roll with what the impulse is that's coming from the back. And you need focus both to zoom in on the essence of where it is you're headed and to clear your mind enough to feel, hear, see those prompts as they arise and then follow them clearly. And then again, you need perspective now so that you don't lose yourself in the action and forget all about your intention, which I'm sure is something you've done. I know I've done it enough times. You set your intention, you start rolling with it, you're doing fine, you're centered, you're humble, you're acquiescent, and you get into it and you start congratulating, oh, I'm doing really well, I'm clever, this is brilliant, this is great, isn't it? And you lose yourself in it, and you forget your intention. What was it I was doing this for? What did I want? It's familiar, I'm sure everybody has that. So this perspective, seeing through the noise in your mind as it's describing what's happening to you, seeing through or past or beyond the myopic view that affords you. It's a view constricted by filters that are comprised of your past experience and all the prejudices and spurious beliefs that are associated with those, and of your anxieties, which are conflected fears, they're not real ones, about what could go wrong. And that again is based in past experience and your interpretation of past experience. So it requires widening the filters of perception, as Aldous Huxley so poetically named them, and eschewing the complex of descriptions of reality that you have constantly under discussion in your prefrontal cortex, along with the corresponding emotion-based tension in the solar plexus that spreads up into your chest and constricts your breathing and your throat so you can't communicate clearly even with yourself and so on. And then drawing yourself back far enough and large enough, because what happens when you roll backwards inside, you feel yourself getting bigger. You're no longer confined by the shape of your physical form. You expand beyond that because you are way bigger than this physical form, of course. And you keep going back far enough and large enough until you can see how relatively minuscule your present apparent conundrum actually is compared to the scale of the cosmos and the enormity of the miracle of existence and the eternal present informing all aspects of it, present, future and past simultaneously. It's what the Chinese call Tao. And I call this a 4D view, a four-dimensional view, because you're able to see beyond the linear time construct. And with that, you can see past all the noise and the static of your own mind, and you can then direct your focus clearly towards what has to be done, where, when, and how, without losing a moment of enjoyment along the way, because any moment could be your last one. It'd be daft if you were just so focused on getting somewhere that you forgot to enjoy being where you were. Hey, so this is it. This is the method. Here's the bit. This is where we're going to do it. I invite you to join me in closing your eyes and trusting yourself to let the world go, or let the world go on its own. Let go of your descriptions, your stories, your opinions, your beliefs, your fears, your prejudices, and everything associated with this world of 10,000 things, just for a moment. Always collect them again afterwards, if you want to. And let your breathing slow down and become aware of the rise and the fall of the belly as you respectively breathe in and breathe out. Be aware also of the quality of the breath in as much as let it be silken. Give the breath that quality of silk, or of a very fine, fine, fine wine, or of some priceless elixir, something really precious and rare. This breath that contains life, the next moment of life. And breathe it in luxuriantly, appreciating, savouring every bit of it. And likewise, as you breathe out, do so as an offering to the universe. You're letting go of yourself as you breathe out. You're sacrificing yourself into the moment. It takes great bravery to breathe out fully, just the courage just to let go. And you have to allow the next breath of life to come in. So getting in a sense of slightly being cognizant of what's going on with the breathing, valuing it, loving it, appreciating the energy that it's giving you and the toxins that it's carrying away. Noticing that by slowing it down and making it smooth and silent, the mind is already slowing down and becoming smoother and more silk and more silent in its tone as well. And it's like going shoo, 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 shoo to the world and all your thoughts about it. A little bit like you're walking backwards, climbing up a mountainside. You've got your balance. You're not worried about tripping over. You're very confident. You're just slowly strolling backwards up higher and higher and higher towards the peak, getting further and further away from the noise of the global electric womb until all the activity and all the pollution of all kinds of noise, of the smells, of the light, all of it is far, far away. You know how that is when you go up high on a mountainside, the world below just seems to be tiny and silent, near invisible, far down in the valley below. And you're identifying with your primordial hugeness, no longer confining yourself to this tiny human frame. And by necessity, feel yourself burst out of the narrow confines of your body. And you can feel this most easily happening in the rear of you. So you start off by just leaning back inside, as if the back of you is a throne back, you know, the back of a throne. You're the queen, you're king. And you lean back into it. You lean into your shoulder blades. You lean into the front of your spine. You lean into your pelvic bones and your sacrum. And you lean your mind into the rear bone of the skull. So you're sitting all the way back inside. The front part of you is now free to relax. You'll find the residue of the tension in the belly. Just say to it, come belly. Just let go for a moment. Relax, that's it. Relax, that's it. Relax, that's it. Relax. Catching it just before it wants to rebel and go tense again. Just let go. Just let go. That's it. That's it. Just like when you're doing it with a baby, you want to try and get to sleep. And you help that by keeping on breathing slowly. You become aware of all the muscles in your body. You've got the muscles in your face, down the sides of your neck, and your shoulders, down your arms, your hands, your fingers. You've got the muscles that go down the sides, between the ribs, the chest, the middle back, the solar plexus and diaphragm, the intestinal area, bladder, the lower back, the kidneys, the buttocks, the pelvic floor, pubic bone area, the thighs, the backs, the fronts, the sides, the knee joints, the calves, the shins, the soles of the feet, the toes, everywhere. Just tell it all, soften, 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 soften. Like just let go, let go, let go of all the defenses, of all the armor, and just for now, just know you're safe and you can be here. It's all good, it's all fine. Become aware now that you're also in a company of many people all the way around the world, amazingly in pretty much every time zone aside from the poles. And for all I know, there might even be somebody from Antarctica here. Just we're all together and we're safe together. Our energy is supportive, not competitive. It's collaborative, not combative. We're here like fellow angels in human form to keep each other safe, to keep each other company, to give each other succor and strength. And you don't have to think about it much. You just be aware of it. Enjoy the sensation of being with your fellows, good fellows, that are not threatening, that are here just merely to support you. And this is not about the personality. It's not about being nice or being kind. This is the true nature. Our true natures are now ruling the show, running the show. And as you drop back inside and you notice that you're acquiring the qualities of the back, the stillness, the strength of it, the stability of it, the sturdiness of the back, much less froth, much less interference and static. You keep breathing, you keep doing it. You notice you're becoming bigger somehow. the sense of who you are is bigger than the physical form. And it's becoming bigger, a bit like a balloon, getting bigger and bigger. And you just allow it to happen. Just let yourself be as big as you feel you can be. And that's not meant to sound like a motivational kind of Coca-Cola advert thing. Just feel yourself get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger without limit, because we have no actual limit. And notice that if you look with your inner eye through the center of your forehead, as if you had a camera lens there, at your life, far, far, far away, the thing that you'd normally describe as your life, it's very small now. All the activities, all the need to earn more money, all the contretemps you're trying to avoid or involved in with other people, the injustices or the joyfulness or the sharing or the desires, the things you want, the things you think you've got to have, things you've got to prove, all of that stuff is something very, very, very small indeed. And as you sit back further and further, become aware also of your heart, the center of your chest, like a beautiful profusion of gorgeous pinky, fuchsia, rose, red, crimson gorgeousness, emitting a light that would correspond with that, a smell that would correspond with that, a tone that would correspond with pure love, pure joy, pure courage, the nobility of everything that is wonderful about the human spirit, your soul, your unique gift to existence. And here it is, there in the heart. And allow the armouring to come away. Feel the armouring in front of all that to dissolve, and allow the radiance of your love to flow freely, to emanate freely from you in all directions, to touch everyone in this world, everyone beyond, until indirectly, at least, everyone on the planet right now is touched by this subtle, discreet, soothing balm of love, coming not just from you, but from everyone in our circle, so somehow exponentially multiplied. And this warms up the tone. This warms up the tone, and it puts you in touch with the essence of your joy. And as I say, it's not a joy that's an ideal joy. It's not an idyllic joy. It's a true joy, a joy that accommodates the pain as well as the pleasure. It's a joy beyond pain and pleasure, just a joy of being. And it's not personal, because when your body's gone and your personality's gone, joy will still continue. It will be channeled by whoever is left around. It will be channeled by those that you've influenced and those who you've taught. The joy goes on. We come and go. The joy is forever. And it's that sense of having the privilege of channeling this infinite joy through your heart, but you're observing it from the back of you. You're sitting all the way back. And this joy is your function, your function to connect the realm of the spirit with the realm of the material with this joy, and your mission to share it freely with everybody. And from that, there's the direction. You know, you can feel it. It's like you go with what fascinates you, with where it pulls you. Not in a naive, silly way. You probably have to go to work tomorrow. And that's not countering any of this. So you know that if your joy is the priority, you go to work knowing that this is going to be joyful. From the depths of you, you vow to enjoy this process of traveling, of arriving, of being with people, and of eliciting joy wherever you can. It's not just about parties and jolly things. It's all the time. Being willing to just feel this joy of being by being back inside and letting the heart flourish, letting the heart energy flourish. So now you really have a sense of direction. It's not necessarily A to Z. Wouldn't trust if it was, but it's a sense of a direction of expansion, of allowing yourself to expand into ever larger concentric spheres, each of which contain more and more and more and more of you, essentially, and all the material factors that reflect you back at you, and all the people that reflect you back at you. And ultimately, you isn't this individuated entity anyway, it's the Tao. So all this is really is just the Tao amusing itself with this incredibly complex, convoluted, multi-layered, kaleidoscopic show. And having the sense of direction, instinctively knowing there's this path beckoning that draws you into being in this expanded sphere, this sense of just expanding out. That's the path in a circular way, all around yourself, not just in the front, in every direction, in every sense. The perspective is afforded to you by just being back here, not having to believe that you are that tiny being way off there in that little local reality. That's an aspect of you, but it's merely the tip of the iceberg. Here you are as this massive, like an archangel, guarding over your life. This is the real you. And here you have perspective, and you can relax with that in an active way, not a floppy way, not collapse. You relax actively with that, holding it all, the thrill, the poignancy of existence. And there might be something you need to focus on. There might be an area where just with the slightest focus and command, you can shift the reality. So I would imagine it wouldn't be too much of a wild guess to suggest that perhaps your bank account could use a little tweak right now, for example. So if you just kind of from this big angelic state, focus from, you're sitting in the back of your brain, you're watching from the back of the brain. In the midbrain, where the pineal gland is, that's like a magnifying lens. And you're looking through that, which takes your vision out through the center of the forehead, in through infinite light years to where you're perceiving your local life to be. And you have this laser sharp focus ability, and you point it at the screen of your bank account, and you point it precisely at the total at the end. And as you focus on it, you command the total to start rising. And you watch the numbers revolving like on one of those one-armed bandits, and it's shooting up by the hundreds, by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, until it's reached a stage in credit that is way beyond where you are right now or where you were yesterday. And it's well enough to see you through the next period of time feeling absolutely secure and happy. Or you might be drawn to apply your focus to a particular relationship, a dynamic with someone in your life that maybe is a little bit skewy at the moment. And you direct the focus there to the space between the two of you as you're perceiving it, and colorate the space in a deep rose color, a deep fuchsia, kind of rose gold that soothes and heals. And apply your focus to the corners of the other's mouth and command them to smile. Command the corners of the other's mouth to rise up. And it doesn't even matter if they don't want to smile. I think we can get away with this because everybody benefits from a good smile. It's you're healing their heart. You're sending healing directly into their heart, causing the inner smile to show itself on their face. See them acquiesce to it, and then move the focus away, leave them to it, whoever they are, to get on with it on their own now. And there might be another area of your life where you want to apply the focus. As you apply the focus, you also become aware that between where you are as the big archangel and where that is, way up there through space, where your local life is occurring, there's definitely a series of moves that have to be made. You can't necessarily see any of them, let alone even a few of them, but you can sense that they're there. Now, these are the moves that we generally get afraid of. The moves of, oh, I'm going to have to do something that's going to be difficult. I'm going to have to come out of where I'm comfortable and do something I'm not used to, or I might mess it up, and what if I fail, and what if I trip over and hurt myself, or whatever. Realize that these moves are merely that. They're just moves. They're dance moves, if you like. And see them as your friends now. See these elements of destiny as your beloved, as your friends, not your enemy. And just say to them, hey, I love you. I love you. I'm coming very soon. Just wait there for me. I'm about to come and do you any moment, as in do the move. And get the sense of the move, these points in time, these steps that have to be taken, smiling back at you. My beloved, I'm waiting for you too. What fun this is. So you're making friends with destiny here. And this is the focus, this is the direction. And the reason you're doing it all is to just elicit more and more joy from everywhere, from everyone, from everything. Doesn't mean it's going to make everything fine in the world. Nothing ever can be totally fine. It doesn't mean it's going to make it all sweet and nice smelling. It's going to have its other side too. Doesn't matter. All you're doing is you're injecting more and more fullness, more and more down, more awareness, more joy into the mix, because that's the best we can do. And that overshadows the other. That's what we're doing here. We're healing. We're healing ourselves. We're healing everyone. We're healing the collective. We're healing this whole entire infinite cosmos. just by injecting more and more and more joy into it. And we've done it together, and that means that it is exponentially more powerful to encourage a widening of the filters so that you can maintain a broader perspective. Literally, the temples, the two dents either side of the forehead, are the key. Now, if you, with your eyes closed, bring your fingers of your both hands up to your temples and pressing just like 4 ounces, no more, and get a feeling that you're actually able to grab hold of the temples like the ring of the bone, and just by turning your fingers outwards, it's as if you're influencing the temple bones to turn outwards as well. It's like you're broadening the temples. You're like opening the shutters. Just do that movement a few times, just getting a sense of opening the temples up. And each time you do it, more and more concentrate from the back of the head, the back of the brain, and get the sense that your filters, the space through which you're looking at everything, have grown much wider now. Just get that sense. And be aware that there is this infinity to nature, to the nature of existence. It's not that limited thing that we're used to making it be just for our own convenience. And the primordial aspect of you in the background presence or the witness, it's the same as the presence that is informing everywhere and everyone and everything. Be aware of the transience, the universal transience of everything, you, your life, everyone you know, everyone. And release the clutches a little bit. Don't grab onto it so much, because it's fine. We let it come, we let it go. Let everything be in a state of flow. And so as soon as that interference has been removed from your prefrontal cortex and the ocular region up front is relaxed and not squinting, focus occurs naturally. It comes from the rear brain, the visual cortex in the rear brain. It's magnified through that lens of the pineal gland in the midbrain and projected actually onto the inside wall of the forehead. And you see it as if you're looking at a screen. It actually feels as if you're looking at what's in front of you, not of course, no more so than in everyday life. You're seeing a beautifully elaborate facsimile, and you can sharpen the effect of this, the acuity of it, by just pressing your fingers onto your forehead above the pupil of each eye. If you were looking directly forwards, about half an inch, about 2 centimeters. There's a dent there on each side, a little kind of place to fall into your fingers. If you just press that gently and then remove the pressure, and now place the finger at the back of your head, at the base of the skull, in the middle, where the spine meets the base of the skull. There's that dent there. Just press in there into the underneath of the bone of the skull, and move the hand around, the finger around in circles a little bit, just to release the tension from the back of the head. And now press the very center of the forehead, just above the line of the eyebrows, and we'll give you a nice feeling across your eyes and cheeks, and then move the finger away slowly, slowly, slowly. And you'll find that within a very, very short space of time, within the next 24 hours, this time tomorrow, say, your focusing ability will have been enhanced enormously, and the economy of energy expenditure required moment to moment to keep going in a joyful way will be much greater. You'll be using much less energy, and the chi that you would have used up will be freed to link you in and rebind you to your true nature, the spirit that sits in the back, and thus will restore you to yourself. That is done, job done, QED, back to the beginning of the circle. I trust that somehow or other, albeit somewhat clumsily, got you to the state of being, even just for a moment, to get a glimpse of your true nature, your big spirit. It only takes a glimpse. And now, if you could just gently conduct yourself into the more familiar so-called everyday state. Next week, we're going to be doing pumping up, pump, the personal pleasure factor, which does seem to be a bit more appropriate towards the pumping, doesn't it? But this is something that is being, well, I mean, pleasure, personal pleasure. It's a big one, isn't it? I mean, think how religion has tried to dampen that, make it bad, and do all the rest. I'm not just talking about sexual pleasure, but obviously that's a big part of it. Food pleasure, all the pleasure of the senses, and how to conduct the energy of that into an even deeper place to make it huge, So we're not talking hedonism, maybe a little bit spiritual hedonism. We're talking about giving the Tao pleasure here. Epicurus, the Greek philosopher, was the first to say, as far as I recall, that the whole purpose of being here is to enjoy it. Just after the Tao is to say, true pleasure, the pleasure of being alive. That's what it's all about. It's what drives us, pleasure. So that's what next week is now. I would find it a great pleasure if you were to ask me any question that you want to do with this theme, or any other really, somehow loosely connected anyway, but to do with self-realization, whether by speaking it out loud on the doodah there or writing it in the text box. I'm going to hand us over to Sudi Crew, the producer.
Hello. So let's get started with this question from Claudine, who says, what's the best point to press or other simple technique for prevention of overexcitement or nervous energy, which, although it's aroused by great joy, pushes one into illness? Thanks.
Good question, Claudia. That's when it's like that, it's not coming from the anxiety that is due to like that low kidney energy thing. That's to do with an overheated heart, or the heart energy is overheated and it needs a bit of cooling. And there's a point called Heart 7. It's actually called the Spirit Door, but it's number 7 on the heart meridian. And it's just proximal, as in towards you, of the wrist bracelet. If you look at the palm of your left hand, for example, you can see there's a line separating the arm from the hand. That's the wrist bracelet. Now, where that line comes to the base, where it's, you've got your little finger. If you draw a line down your little finger with your other finger, your left finger with the other hand, over the palm till it meets that line, and then press in to the bone of the hand, just there, with the thumb of the opposite hand, obviously, and twiddle the thumb round and round. You'll get if you get it right, you'll get this lovely ache, a poignant sensation in the hand and all the way into the little finger, which you then repeat on the other hand. And if you do that, within 10 minutes or so of doing it, almost instantly in fact, you'll feel that fire, that steam settle down, and you'll be containing it again. Because we've got to learn to contain the excitation really in the belly rather than the chest, because that's where it keeps getting regenerated from, and it won't burn out or burn us out when we do that. So remember, it's Heart 7, the Spirit Door. If you couldn't get it from that, go on Google and look for Acupuncture Atlas, type in Heart H7 or Heart 7, and it will show you exactly where it was. And you can always email me for further clarification if you want to. Plus, it's brilliant if you're trying to get to sleep at night, lying in bed. It's like taking a bit of Valium. You press that point, within 10 minutes you're asleep. Or if you're with a little kid or a baby that is fractious, you can get hold of their wrist gently and just do that for a moment or two on each side. You will find within 10 minutes they'll have calmed right down, if not a lot soon. Good question, thank you.
Malkit says, it was a great pleasure to be here listening to this beautiful and powerful satsang facilitated by such a lovely soul as you. Thank you, Stephen. Love, Malkit.
Oh, thank you. I was a bit nervous today. Could you hear it? I was a bit nervous because there's so much going on that in my head I found it was almost stumbling over it. But it didn't matter. I didn't care that I was nervous, but I just was a little bit.
Claire says, hi, Barefoot Doctor. I seem to have developed a flatulence problem, which is uncomfortable and embarrassing. Do you have any advice of how I can control this? Thank you, from Claire.
Yes, Claire. You would firstly get into the habit of massaging the large intestine with the fingers of both hands. And you know how the large intestine begins with the ascending colon on the right side of the lower belly, and then it moves up to where the liver is, then it goes across over where the stomach is, then it goes down the roots on the left side where the spleen is, and then it goes down the descending colon and out through the rectum. So it's like a bit like a 50-pence pizza, an octagonal shape, I think it is. Then you press in at the bottom bit, then you go up a bit, and you go up to under the liver, and you go across, and you go over to the left, and you go down, and you go down a bit more. You don't press over the bladder, you then skip over to the right side again. And you jiggle it, you give it a little wobble. And you just go round and round about 3 times. Then you move your hands around and round the belly, just rubbing it. Now, this is something to do every single day, because what it does is it causes the intestines to work more efficiently, so that air doesn't get trapped in there so easily. It gets the bowel movements much more efficient and whole. That's the first thing. The second thing I would recommend is to get into the habit of taking psyllium husks. Now, these you can get in a capsule form, which is the most convenient way, but actually much more effective if you can get a pot of the powder, which you mix in with juice or water or whatever juice is called, and mix it well. You have to stir it really well, and then drink it. Have a little drink of something after, just to wash it through, and that will expand the intestines and get rid of all the little pockets of air that are being caught in the folds and the creases and so on. It sort of expands them out, blows them up a little bit like a balloon, so to speak, and that is a great one too. Then, if you rub with your knuckles of your right hand down the highest bit of the left arm, you put your left palm facing down, and then you rub the top of the arm all the way from the top to the bottom back up again, like you're cleaning a window or something, and then you do the same on the other arm. Just do that a couple of times a day. That helps to release heat from the large intestine meridian. And that would, within usually a week to 2 to 3, in itself make major difference. I'd also recommend taking slippery elm. Get it online. That's also brilliant. Most important is, you know, the old English folk saying, whether in church, whether in chapel, always let your wind rattle. So you really got to try and fart whenever you need to, so not hold it in as much as possible, obviously within reason. But if you give yourself permission to do that in the appropriate setting, and you do all the rest of that stuff I said, I think you'll find within about 3 weeks maximum, the whole situation will have eased considerably. And you can always get in touch with me on email. I can maybe give you a couple of hints as well when I've got a bit of a clearer mind about it.
All right, Penny says, the breathing technique you shared last week was perfect to get me into the back of my body. I was struggling with that a bit. I love the School for Warriors training. Are there any more internal boxing exercises besides those? Love and thank you, Penny from Canada.
Hey, Penny from Canada. Actually, bizarrely, Sue DeCrew and myself have been talking in great depth about presenting you with exactly that, and we're going to sort it all out in the next couple of weeks, in fact, because there's rafts of them, and there's many that I want to share with you in some kind of form, a training form, because it's what I do every day, and there's such great stuff. I just do want to share it with everybody. So yes, stand by for that. There will be more coming down the pipe very soon.
Okay, we just have one more question at the moment. So this last one is from Grace, who said, I think I'm starting the menopause. I'm getting lots of hot flushes. Are there any natural ways you know of, either points to press or something natural to take that can help with this?
Hello, Grace. Yeah, there's, I mean, it's quite well known. Black cohosh, C-O-H-O-S-H. There's sweet yam. There's yam. And dogquai, which is the Chinese root that's the equivalent of ginseng for men, but for women. There's also women's precious pills. You can get them from Chinese online herb places, women's precious pills. The idea is to keep the kidneys as warm as you possibly can, because it's them that are losing their balance because of the hormonal shift that's causing the hot flushes. So keeping the kidneys warm, breathing warmth into the kidneys as much as possible, and letting it roll, because don't try and stop it. These things get worse if you try and stop them. Being proud to be hot, if you like, revel in it, because then it passes much more quickly. So every time you feel the heat, rather than go, God, I'm getting a hot flush, go, oh, I love this heat, you'll find it will pass more quickly when you don't resist it. And again, Grace, if you want to contact me, I'll come up with a lot more clear ideas for you if you'd like, because I'm in a totally menopausal mode right now. And yes, so everybody, thank you immensely for being here and affording me the privilege of being able to facilitate such a grand and wonderful event. And do come next week. We're going to pump up the personal pleasure factor, and it's going to be special. And that's it, and that's all. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
coming home. That's what you want. Coming home is what you wanted all the while. Back to this place where you've always been free. Back to this place where you can't fail to see. Everybody and everything is one. Everybody and everything is one. Not that I'm being judgmental or regimental, maybe mildly sentimental, but I'm sure you've noticed existence.